Hello everyone and welcome back again to Feral Keyline's Designs YouTube channel. For today's update, I am very excited to finally share to you guys a pastel color collection project. I love this project so much because the color I'm working with this project is actually one of my favorite color, which is color pink. It's also been super while since the very last time that I made a pastel color dress simply because I'm busy working with classic and rococo projects in the last few months. I wasn't able to work on any pastel color dresses at that time, but I'm very glad that I'm finally be able to work on this pastel dress right now. The process of making this dress is as easy as our previous projects. I promise that I will try my best to lead you guys through this process where you can understand the steps clearly and easily. So let's begin our project. This time, we will start off by making the ruffles part of this cord first. I'm doing this step first because making the ruffles takes a lot of time, so I usually finish doing the ruffles before I start the actual sewing of the dress. This dress will have 3 beautiful layers of ruffles, and I must say that I'm very excited for this. I'm using this non-fray cotton cloth for this whole dress project. This type of cloth doesn't fray like the other cloths, but still we will need to overlock few parts of the finished dress later on. To start off the ruffles process, we will simply cut strips of cloth. The first 2 layers of the ruffles in this dress will be 4 inches in length. I need at least 5 strips of cloth for each layers of this dress. I simply measure and mark the cloth length I needed, and then I pin those markings in place. This will prevent the cloth from slipping since this cloth is very light. I continue to do this step in the rest of the strips until we have 5 strips for each layer of the ruffles. The last or the third top layer ruffles are only 2 inches. You will also need 5 strips of cloth for this layer ruffles. After I finish cutting the strips of cloth for the ruffles, I then sew all the strips together and then I gather the strips to create the ruffles. We will then now work on the skirt part of this dress. My skirt cut for this project will be 21 inches since we will have a 4-layer added length when we sew the ruffles in place later. We won't need to start off with a long panel skirt. This skirt will be enough for my hoop skirt and my petticoat. After that, we will then now cut our bodice pattern. For the bodice, we will need to add a lining cloth. The main pink cloth is too soft to hold the bodice shape. Even I tried to do a 2-layer same fabric in this process, the bodice did not hold the shape that I wanted. So I decided to use another type of pink cloth for the lining material. The lining cloth I use in this project is a sturdy cotton pink cloth. The cloth is thicker and non-elastic in all sides, so I'm sure that the cloth will hold the bodice shapes in place. The measures for this cut is your chest measure, and then you will need to add 2 inches for seam allowance. My model's chest measure is 33 inches, and then I added 2 inches allowance in this measure. After you have all your pieces together, we will then now iron those pieces down. This step is simply to fix the creases on the cloths and to flatten the fabric for us to be able to sew them easily. Now, let's begin with the actual sewing of this project. Get your lining cloth and your main pink fabric and then lay them flat together. Sew along the edges of the rectangle piece, closing all the sides of the panel rectangle. After that, we will need our trusted ruler and our marking pencil. In this step, I will be marking 3 inches from one side of the bodice until I reach the other side. This will be our added design. This will also serve as an added support for the shape of the bodice. After you finish your markings, you will then now flat stitch those markings down. You can use any colors of thread you wanted in this step, simply because these lines are meant to be added as design for the bodice. Once you finish flat stitching all those lines and markings, we can then now mark our taxings placement. I will still follow my standard measure for this JSK project. Mark the center point of your whole bodice by folding the bodice into half. After that, you need to locate the center point of your bodice. From there, you will then now mark 4 inches from the center on both sides. My taxing height in this project is 5 inches. After your markings are done, you can then now proceed to flat stitch those markings in place. Once you finish this step, you will then now flat stitch the bottom part of the bodice. This is to simply secure the taxings excess on their designated sides. After this, you can cut all the excess materials. Now, let's design the front part of the bodice. I will just sew 1 layer of white lace design in front of this bodice. Don't forget to cut all the excess materials in the process. This bodice will have 3 big ribbons in front as added design. So, we only need 1 layer of lace for these added details. You can add more layer of lace if you like, but that will depend on your choice. After the lace and the designs are done, we can then now run the top and the bottom part of the bodice into the overlock machine. Once you finish this step, we will then now complete the bodice by folding the top part of the bodice by 1/2 inch, and then we will simply flat stitch it down. Now, let's move on to the skirt part of this dress. As usual, you will need to gather the skirt to fit your waist measure. My model's waist measure is 27 inches. We will also need to leave at least 2 inches non-gathered part on both edges of the skirt. This will be our safe seam allowance when we close the dress later on. Once your skirt panel is completely gathered, we can now then sew the skirt into the bodice. I've already marked the center point of my bodice off cam, so I just simply folded the skirt into half and then match the markings. After you finish attaching the skirt into the bodice, you can then now rerun the seam one more time. This is simply to finish the skirt and the body seam perfectly, and that you can run the back part of the dress into the overlock machine to finish the raw back part of the dress. Now, we can close the back part of this dress. Get the two back part together and then flat stitch them down. I'm sewing at least 2 inches in this step. Once you finish that, open the seams panel and then sew them in their designated sides. After that, you can then go ahead and unstitch 12 inches from the top of your bodice. This will be the opening of our back. I've already finished the hem of the skirt off cam. I simply folded the raw edges of the skirt twice. You might ask why I did 2 folds on this dress hem. It is because the cloth is too light. The hem of the skirt is too fragile, so I fear that the ruffles end will come undone after a few times of wearing the dress. To secure the hem of the dress, I just needed to make the hem of the dress solid for the ruffles to have a foundation in shape. Now we can sew the ruffles in place. The first layer of ruffles will be directly sewn on the hem of the skirt. The hem will hold the ruffles in place and the whole bottom circle part of the dress. I somehow decided to reshape the top bodice in this step. I simply cut the back part of the dress a bit shorter compared on the front part. This gives the bodice more shape on the JSK dress. After I cut the shape that I wanted, I then flat stitch those raw edges down. Then I run those raw edges into the overlock machine. To finish off the bodice, I flat stitch those edges by 1/2 inch. Now, I can continue sewing the ruffles in place. After the first layer ruffles were sewn, I marked 3 inches from the first layer ruffles, and then I proceed to sew the second layer of ruffles in those markings. To finish the ruffles work on this dress, I just placed the shortest ruffles on top of the second layer ruffles. I decided to add a thin pink ribbon design in the middle of the 2-layer short ruffles, and that completes the skirt part. Now we can make the strap of this dress. Since the main cloth is too thin, we will again need to add lining cloth in this step. I tried making the strap by folding the main pink fabric twice, but it didn't add well, so I decided to stick with the lining method. I measured 11 inches length for the strap, and then I cut the exact measure with the lining cloth. After you have both pieces, you can simply sew them together. Then, when you finish this step, you can run all those raw edges into the overlock machine. Finish off the strap by folding the longer side edges by 1/2 inch. Now, we can attach the straps in the bodice. I finish off the front design of this bodice by sewing this ruffles work on the top part of the bodice. We can now work on the corset back part of this dress. As usual, you will need a ribbon hoops for the back part. I simply double folded a strip cloth. Once you have your strips, you can then now cut it by 2.5 inch. I've already marked where I wanted the loops to be placed. Once you are satisfied with your markings, you can then now go ahead and sew the loops in place. I've sewn a total of 4 loops in this project. Now, let's work on the back panel cover of this dress. We simply needed to cut a pink material with 10 inches length and 5 inches width in measure. Sew along the sides of the panel cloth and then turn it inside out. Don't forget to poke all the corners of the panel cloth. Finish off the back cover by sewing all the sides of the panel cloth close. And then we can sew this cover in the back part of this dress. Now I can finally say that the dress is done. I really enjoy making this dress. It looks so cute. The cotton candy feels and pastel ambience is very soothing and very cute. I still hope that I can work on more pastel dresses in the future. I seriously wish pastel cloth materials will be available from my supplier. Thank you very much for watching this update, and I do hope that you enjoy this video tutorial. I surely enjoy making this dress so much, and also I'm very happy to be able to share this dress process with you guys. I hope to see you guys really soon. Take care and don't forget to subscribe. If you wanted to be notified with our newest project and updates, then please don't forget to click the notification bell button. See you really soon, and again, happy sewing everyone. Goodbye.